Good afternoon, everyone. And once again, welcome to our talking show about real estate and mortgage. My name is ARLINDO Machado. I'm a broker and also a real estate instructor for One Way Realty Group. And I like to invite our friend YURI Baturenko. How you doing, Yuri?
Hi, Arlindo. I'm good. Thank you. Pleasure to be here with you.
Great, Yuri. Yuri is the founder of Vanguard Mortgage Group, and he's always answering all the questions for the mortgage. And that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be addressing some questions, some doubts that the public has about real estate and mortgage. And I go to you, Yuri.
That's awesome. Yes. So first to start off, which would be logical, you as a great instructor can explain all steps of the purchase contract. What happens from the signing of the offer all the way till the closing of transactions? What are the steps of the contract and what actually happens during this time?
All right, Yuri. It's a great questions, and I had people asking me that all the time. I got one client that when I met him at the first house that he was looking at, that exactly was the question that he asked me. Arlindo, what is next? Once I find the property, sign a contract, what comes next? And one of the important things is for the buyers to know that it's very important to have a real estate agent representing the buyer, not the same one who represents the seller, because the one who represents the seller, he is defending the seller's interest because the seller is the one who actually paid the commission. And once this service is free to the buyer, so it's a very good idea to hire a real estate to protect your interest as a buyer. And one of the questions that they ask, like we were addressing before, is that what comes next? So what comes next is once you sign the contract, your real estate agent will prepare the contract and put all the conditions to protect the buyer in case of financing not being approved, so the buyer won't lose the deposits and a bunch of different things. So what the agent is going to do is he's going to get the contract that's being signed by the buyer and the seller, is the effective contract, and submit that to two entities. They're going to submit it to the lender, which is being represented by a loan originator. In this case, will be Yuri. And also submit the contract to the title company who will take care of the closing and all the steps all the way to closing. So once the lender receives the contract, the lender is going to put all the documentations together and then process the loan approval, right? It's going to go through an underwriter. That's something that Yuri will going to answer that better than I can do. So then the next step will be for the buyer to hire an inspector. So it's very important to hire an inspector so you know everything about the property. And one thing that we need to understand, that's all visual. The inspector are going to do a visual inspection, and whatever they see it, they put it on the report. And then it creates a window so the buyer can go back to the seller and renegotiate price if there is any problem on the property, right? So that will be the next step, which is to do the inspection. So the next step, it would be for the seller, if the seller is going to do any repairs on the property. So we have an addendum that will say, that will be part of the contract that says that the seller will agree either to make some repairs or to pay those repairs at closing for the buyer. And then the real estate agent is going to have to be looking at all the dates, because number one, you have basically 15 days to do your inspection. And if everything is okay, after 15 days, if you decided to proceed, then the contract will be proceeded. If you're purchasing a condominium, then you must receive, that's something very important. If you buy, if you're looking to buy a condominium, you need to understand this. You need to receive a condo docs, because there are some regulations on the condominium that you may not like, and you're not aware of those regulations. That's why the seller must give it to you, the condo docs, and then you're going to review. Example, Orlando, what could be there that I don't like it? Example,
Yes.
they might say that you have pet and the condominium is pet friendly. That's a good thing. Now, the next step would be, what is the size? Because sometimes the condominium is pet friendly, but only up to 20 pounds. And this is something that will be on the condo docs. Some condominiums, they don't allow commercial vehicle. And then you're going to have to look into the condo docs and see if this is something that will affect you. Or motorcycles. Some condominiums, they don't accept motorcycles. And if you have a motorcycle, you're not going to sell it. So you probably want to cancel the contract and also be okay to get your money back. Then during this process, we go to the closing and we have to do the walkthrough and go through all this process. So once you see that the house is exactly the way it was when you put an offer, then you finalize and go to closing. So that is the whole process of purchasing your property. So that's why it's a very good idea to have a real estate agent helping you throughout this process. And once we're talking about this, it comes up a very good question, which is about the contingencies on the mortgage. Yuri, that question is for you. What contingencies could affect this transaction, and how can we do, what can we do, to prevent all those situations?
I'll be happy to answer that, because again, financing contingencies are in the contract to protect the client and to protect in case that financial institutions for some reason will decline the loan in future. Although it is initially approved, but there are a number of conditions that have to be satisfied. Now, for this satisfaction of conditions, financing contingency in the contract gives the window when they have to be satisfied and the loan is getting clear to close. Now, if all conditions are not satisfied in the window of financing contingency, like let's say it's 30 days, then the deposit that the borrower has, that the buyer has, might be at risk. So it's always good to have financing contingency as close to the closing date as possible. I personally do not really appreciate contracts where, let's say, closing is set 45 days ahead and financing contingency only 30 days. Even if we manage to get everything cleared within 30 days, then for the remainder of 15 days, the file stays out of financing contingency, and in these 15 days something might happen, like documents get expired and the file might go back to underwriting, and then the client is not protected. It's always, in my opinion, wise to have financing contingency and closing date within 5 days, even 3 days. That would be the best. Now, another thing that I would like to mention, not all contracts would have that, but it is very good idea, especially in the construction contract. I know we don't have much of an effect of pushing our agenda in the construction contract, because it's done by builders and then they do it to protect themselves. But one of the contingencies that I would like to draw your attention, especially if you have power of adding something into contract, is adding interest rate. So let's say that approval, especially we are now in environment where interest rates are going up constantly, right? So let's say that approval today at even at, what is it today? Today it's 7%, right? APR is 7%. But so today at 7%, that does not mean that in 2 months, let's say that the closing is like 2 months ahead, right? That in that time, or like 3 months ahead, sometimes it happens, especially with the builders, right? That at that time, we cannot lock it for that loan. I mean, we can, but it's going to be a price adjustment, which is not really good. So anyway, and the closing might not happen, it might get delayed. So it's always good to protect in contract that the rate cannot exceed certain amount. Why is that happening? Because let's say now I see in a builder's contract, and it happens a lot, where mortgages have been approved at the rate of 4.5, and now people are forced to get into these contracts and close these contracts at the rate of 7, and they cannot afford it because their payment becomes higher. The DTI is not in line with the with the requirements, and they cannot close on this mortgages. So one of the contingencies that's good to have is protect interest rate. But sellers do not like that, and it's not happening often. But there is something that you can keep in mind, and especially going into maybe we are going, I don't know that yet, but going into buyer's market, you can actually negotiate the contract for the buyer. When it's seller's market, sellers don't want to negotiate anything. But when you have power to negotiate, it's always better to add certain layers of protection for yourself. And then again, great realtors always help, because it might seem that the real estate contract is a simple thing, but it's not. There are a lot of provisions that help both sides to protect themselves. So it's always a great idea to have a specialist doing that for you. Now, coming to the current situation, what is happening in Florida on the real estate market? Are we in a buyer's market already, or not yet?
No, not yet. We're probably going to get there, but not yet. We, like we mentioned on the other interviews we had in the past, people are concerning that we're going to have another bubble or the price is going to go down, and we don't see that. And the majority of the companies and experts in real estate, they all seeing that the price will continue to go up, not the way it was before. Like you see 2 digits going up. We're going to still see like 4%, 5% until 2016. That's the prediction. Okay, the price will continue going up, and then people say, well, mortgage, the interest rate is going up. Isn't that going to discourage buyer to buy? No, it's not going to discourage the buyer to buy. And right now, it doesn't make much of a difference. And I will tell you why. We still have a lot of foreign capital coming to the United States. I'll give you an example. In July, look, July is basically a month ago, or 2 months, because we're almost at the end of September. In July, in the county of Miami-Dade and Broward, all the condominiums that was sold, majority no, a great number was cash. Let me tell you what happened on the normal market. Normal market is every 10 transactions, 1 is cash, 9 is finance, meaning 90% of all real estate transactions in the normal market is financed. Right now in Broward and Miami-Dade, it was 50%, meaning every 2 houses, 1 was financed, the other 1 was cash. So market is still pretty much hot. We are starting getting more inventories coming into the market, single families and condominiums, and it's increasing the inventory little by little, but price is still going up. Is it a good moment to buy? Yes, I still believe it's a good moment to buy because prices are still going to continue going up. Price of rents are also up, and you still can get a good deal on getting a mortgage, because as we say to renters, regardless if you buy or rent, you are paying mortgage. If you buy, you pay mortgage for yourself. If you rent, you pay your landlord's mortgage. So regardless, you are paying mortgage. So better to pay mortgage for yourself, and then you have a house. And the good thing about you owning your own house is that, number one, every time you make a payment, that will deduct your principal. And every time that your house appreciates, that money, that appreciation value is your money, not your landlord money. So that's why it's also a very good idea. And if you put it up together, you see that it's a great benefit to have or own your own house and not fear that someday the landlord will come and request the house.
Correct. Correct.
Well,
and the thing is that, yeah, I want to interfere here a little bit,
no,
because
it's okay.
a good point.
It's a good conversation.
The thing is that people tend to look at what is happening at the moment, like, right, this specific moment. Can I rent cheaper than if I will buy? Yes, you can. But in a year's time, it might be different situation. And you are not in control of the rent. Landlord in Florida, landlord can increase your rent by any amount. And that is absolutely legal. There is no rent control. Whereas if you have mortgage, it might seem a little bit higher from the beginning. But then again, you know that that is set for 30 years. And you know it's not going to go up. And if market is favorable and the rates go down, you can always refinance. But if it's going up, you're secure, you're safe. You're not going to face the situation where as your rent is doubled because we hit some enormous inflation or whatever the case is. You are protected. Though it is a little bit more costly in the beginning. But then again, it's you protect your future, you protect your well-being in a longer run, not initially. But that's what I wanted to mention.
That's a great point that you put in, Yuri, because we had many situations. I got more than 60 agents working under my company, and they call me all the time with different questions. And one of the questions was that the landlord increased the rent 30%. Are they allowed legally to do that? Yes, they are. If you don't put it on the lease agreement, that they cannot increase more than 5%, then it's not in contract. So then they can increase it for whatever amount they wanted. And then you're going to have to either agree to the new price or move to a different property, right? So, Yuri, once again, we come to the end of our interview, and it was great to be here with you, participated on these questions and asks, but we got to an end. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Thank you. Thank you for your participation. If you have any questions, my number is here. Yuri's number is there as well. Your questions will be welcome. You can call us anytime, and then we're going to do the possible way to help you to answer all your questions. Once again, thank you. Thank you for being with us, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you, Arlindo.